So in data science, building a great model is only half the battle. I mean, it's the fun part, right? But the other half is actually getting it out of your notebook and into the real world where it can do some good. Today, we're going to break down that crucial and often intimidating step, model deployment.
Okay, so picture this. You've spent weeks cleaning data, you've engineered some awesome features, and you've finally trained an amazing predictive model. The code works, the accuracy is high, but then you hit that wall. That big question, now what? It's a place so many data science students get stuck. How do you get this thing out of your code and into the hands of someone who can actually use it?
Well, for a lot of people, the answer seems locked away behind this huge fortress of complex software engineering. There's this myth, right, that deployment is only for senior coders who live and breathe things like APIs and cloud infrastructure and Kubernetes. It's a super intimidating thought, and honestly, it stops great projects dead in their tracks. But that is not the whole picture, not even close.
But what if we're looking at this all wrong? This quote really gets the heart of a totally different way of thinking. What if the best proof that you understand your model isn't the most complex deployment, but the simplest one? It completely shifts the focus from, engineering wizardry to pure, simple, practical value. If you can make your model work in a tool that everyone on the planet already uses, you've created immediate impact. And what we're talking about here is something called spreadsheet deployment. And it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You're taking the core logic of your model, the coefficients, the intercepts, all the math, and translating it directly into formulas in a program like Excel. No servers, no APIs, just a spreadsheet that anyone can open up and use to get a prediction.
Okay, let's get practical. How does this actually work for a super common model, like logistic regression? Well, step one, you just export the key numbers from your model, the coefficients for each of your variables, and the intercept. Then, in Excel, you set up a few cells where a user can type in their data. Step 3, you write a formula to calculate what's called the logit, and that's just each input multiplied by its coefficient, all added up with the intercept. And finally, you wrap that logit in the logistic function formula you see here to get your final probability. That is it. You have officially deployed a model.
Now, spreadsheets are a fantastic starting point, for sure. But they're really just the first rung on what we can call the deployment ladder. As your needs grow, so do your options. You can kind of think of it like a spectrum. On the easiest end, you've got our good friend, the spreadsheet. A little step up from that, you have low-code platforms with point-and-click interfaces. Then maybe you write a simple Python script and schedule it to run every so often. If you need a user interface, tools like Streamlit are amazing for building a basic web app with very little code. And then way over on the most technical end, you've got the whole shebang, full-blown cloud services that manage everything for you. So with all these options, how in the world do you choose? It turns out the answer has less to do with the model itself and everything to do with the business context. So let's compare a small business to a huge enterprise. Just think about this for a second. A local gym and a national bank could ask the exact same question: which of my customers is most likely to leave? But their solutions are going to be fundamentally wildly different. The gym owner just needs a list of maybe 20 names to call this week. The bank, it needs to automatically score 50 million accounts every single night. Same question, but a totally different deployment universe.
So let's really break down those differences. For a small or medium business, an SMB, the scoring is probably manual. The model is maintained by the person who built it, and the rules are pretty light. But for a large enterprise, it is all about automation and getting predictions in real time. It's maintained by a dedicated MLOps team, and that's a whole group specializing in managing these models, and everything is heavily regulated.
This table digs in even deeper. I mean, just look at the scale. A business owner scoring 20 leads versus a system scoring millions of transactions. Or how about regulation? A small business can just be thoughtful about it, but a bank needs strict audit trails. And maintenance, this is a huge one. For an SMB, if the model builder leaves, that model might just die. An enterprise has entire teams whose only job is to retrain and monitor these things. Your deployment choice is a direct result of all these factors.
Okay, so this all brings us to our final takeaway. And after all this technical talk, the most important thing to realize is this: choosing a deployment method isn't really a technical decision at all. It's a business decision. And it all really boils down to one simple question. Before you write a single line of deployment code, you have to ask, who specifically is going to act on this prediction? Seriously, that answer changes everything that comes next. And you know what? Once you answer that question, the path forward becomes crystal clear. If the answer is, Maria in accounting needs a list of the 10 riskiest clients, well then, you're building her a spreadsheet. It's that simple.
If the answer is, an automated system needs to check every single credit card transaction for fraud in real time, then and only then do you need to start thinking about building something more complex, like an API.
So please remember, the best deployment isn't the most technically sophisticated one. It's the one that fits seamlessly, like a puzzle piece, into the workflow of the person or the system that's actually making the decision. The goal here is utility, not complexity. And hey, if you need proof that simple works, look at this. This number, this was the return on investment from a real churn model that was deployed using nothing more than the Excel method we just talked about. Over $200,000 in value, created by a few formulas in a spreadsheet. That is the power of choosing the right deployment, not just the most complex one.
So, for your next project, I want you to think about this question from day one. Don't just get lost in building the model. Ask who needs it, how they work, and what is the absolute simplest, most direct path to get your amazing prediction right into their hands. Because that is how you move from just building a model to creating real, tangible impact.